Coming up on this edition of VCU In-Depth, documentaries from students in VCU's Robertson School of Media and Culture.
We'll start this evening with a look at the challenges faced by a local transgender person.
And then move on to a different type of challenge faced by those who are young and undocumented.
VCU In-Depth begins right now. Hello, and welcome to this edition of VCU In-Depth. I'm Megan LaFont.
And I'm Yura Lee. Thanks for joining us as we feature documentaries from undergraduate students in VCU's Robertson School of Media and Culture. Recently, celebrities like Caitlyn Jenner and Laverne Cox have brought the transgender community into the spotlight.
While some believe the attention helps the 0.3% who identify as transgender in the U.S., many think the celebrities skew the perception of what it means to truly be a trans person.
With 41% of the trans population attempting suicide at some point, it is also a community yearning for acceptance.
We meet just one of Richmond's transgender residents and talk to him about his challenges in this documentary called As Himself.
But we really just wanted to be like, this is Mary, here he is, he's a normal guy, he happens to be transgender.
I like that, because that's how I feel about myself.
Transgender, or trans, is a term for people whose gender identity or expression is different from the sex assigned to them at birth. It's estimated that about 0.3% of the United States population identifies as transgender. This is one story amongst many others.
I'm 26 and I'm a transgender male. My name is Merritt and I'm from Mechanicsville, which is a little town outside of Richmond. It's boring as hell. Mechanicsville's, I hate to say it, but kind of a redneck town. And as far as like the type of person I am, I don't really jive well there. My birth name's Meredith, and that's without a doubt a woman's name. So I chose Merritt, which is not necessarily heavily like a male's name, but it's, I don't know, it's similar to my birth name and it's just more fitting. These were some of like my best friends growing up. I feel like I kind of wish I still talk to them, because I feel like they didn't care how it was. They just liked me. In middle school, I tried to fight it. I really did. I tried to be a girl, and I hated it, and I did a really terrible job at it. As far as what I think a girl is, I was a boy. The first girl I ever dated, I never felt like a lesbian. I was like, I'm not a girl dating a girl. Like a boy trapped in this body dating a girl. And that's why it didn't work, because like, I guess the things about a woman that interest her, I don't have. And she thought I did, but I don't.
I'm heterosexual, and I'm the first heterosexual that Merritt dated. Merritt's self is male. Anatomically, he is female, but that has nothing to do with himself. And as a female to a male, we had a heterosexual relationship.
I learned a lot more when I dated her. I learned a lot more about myself. I learned a lot more about like what being a trans person was, like what my options were for that. Like, so it opened up a lot of new avenues when I dated her.
He just is. The way normal people don't think about their gender and sexuality and all that on a regular basis. He would just be going about his day, and then all of a sudden someone would make a remark, and it would bring back the fact that he isn't just a person, he's a transgender person. And all the weight and all the associations that come along with that.
Having my feelings hurt, it taught me about myself, taught me like what was important to me and what wasn't. And I think it also really was part of why I just got such a strong bond with animals.
If people misgender me as of right now, I only get so upset because at the end of the day, I'm biologically female, so what am I gonna do about it? Animals judge you solely based on like how you treat them. Like, it doesn't matter like what gender you are, like what race you are, like how tall, how short you are, just it's how you treat them. And they like feed off of like your energy. So I don't know, I just feel like I'm a lot more accepted by animals than people. So it's like a special bond. I am a groomer at Dogma, and it is something I'm very passionate about. I love dogs more than anything. Most people that I work with, I've gotten pretty close with, and they're all fully aware that I am transgender. This is actually the first job I've ever had where when I was being interviewed, my boss that hired me, before the interview was over, she asked me which pronouns I preferred, and I was like really taken aback because one, that's never happened. I've never had the courtesy of someone asking me that, and two, she's like in her, I guess, 30s, if I had to guess. Definitely above 30, and I feel like it's less common for people that are not, you know, in their late teens or early 20s to be well educated on what being transgender even is. So I was just really shocked, but in a good way.
I think that was part of the reason why he was so comfortable and why he's so happy at his job, because he is with a group of people that off the bat didn't care. They weren't interested in whether he was transgender. They didn't make him some kind of spectacle. They just want to know what pronouns he used, wanted him to do his job, and moved on.
He has great energy. He's like really level, which I think is a huge part of being a good groomer, because the dog will respond to that energy. And he's always been really calm, and he doesn't get, you know, frazzled under stress. So he's been really helpful with dealing with difficult dogs or temperamental dogs. He's just really patient and kind with them, so he's good. He's awesome.
I think that Merritt loves animals so much because they're not like humans. They're gonna accept you and love you no matter what. And he has firsthand seen how cruel people can be, especially to the transgender community, especially when they're confused. And animals don't have that same attitude, that same instinct. His dog loves him just as much as when he called himself she.
I just want people to accept him and like see what we see in him. And it just makes me sad to think that anyone wouldn't do that and that they would like feel compelled to hurt him in any way.
The people I deal with are people that I'm close with or just complete strangers. So the people that I'm close with, everyone, they're aware, and I don't have to explain anything to them. And if I did, it was a long time ago.
Mayor is a very caring person who just wants to be treated like everybody else, regardless of how he sees himself. If he decides he wants to be addressed and he decides he wants to be living his life as a male, then people should respect that and treat him accordingly. Just as though he would do the same for anybody else.
I just think people would be missing out if they didn't give everybody a chance to become friends with everybody or to fall in love with everybody. I think there's just something amazing about everybody, and Merritt's like helping me and everyone here to understand that maybe someone that initially you would be a little bit unsure about or confused about is worth your time, because he's amazing, and yeah, I'm super grateful to have a friend like him in my life.
Because I think something I've like struggled with mainly since I've been older is being afraid that people aren't going to like me or even love me for like entirely who I am. Like they might like things about me, but they might not want the whole package. And I think that's really scared me a lot. But I refuse to try to fit a certain mold to make that easier. I think that I'm a perfect example that the world is not black and white. There's not just this or that, boy or girl, that there's a gray area and beyond that, and that you can't just classify things as one or the other.
I'm Bill Oglesby, an assistant professor at VCU's Robertson School of Media and Culture and the instructor for the documentary class. Joining me tonight are Alicia Cote and Jacqueline Causey, who produced the As Himself documentary. Good job, folks.
Thank you.
Alicia, tell me, what made you choose this particular subject to do a documentary on?
Really, we chose this subject because, well, Mayor's one of my friends and he is transgender, and we really just wanted to show, like, just because someone is transgender doesn't make them any different than anyone else. They're not a freak, don't have any mental disorders, they're just a person like you or me that just got trapped in a different body than they should have been in.
It's tough to open up like that, though. Did you have to do much persuasion, or was he pretty willing?
He was pretty willing because he understands that a lot of people don't understand the nuances of being transgender, so he really was open to telling his story and letting people know about who he is and that he is just a regular guy.
Jacqueline, let me ask you, did you learn anything about the transgender community that you didn't know previously?
There were so many things that I learned that I didn't know previously. I think the biggest thing for me was seeing that they really don't have access to healthcare, and they actually have to educate their doctors a lot about what type of services they need. And I think for me that was interesting because I didn't know that was a problem that they faced in the community.
What would you like people to take away from this documentary?
I think sort of like what Alicia was saying earlier is that people who are transgender are people just like us. They go to bed, they go to school, they eat, and there's really no reason to treat them differently, even if you don't understand. I hope that it encourages people to educate themselves.
Okay, thank you very much. I've been speaking with documentary producers Alicia Cote and Jacqueline Causey. Very nice work.
Thanks, Dr. Oglesby. Being in college is difficult, but not having a green card makes it even more so.
Roughly 1 million immigrants in the United States are known as dreamers, which means they came to the country as young children.
For students like Melissa Martinez, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals Act means legal residency, driver's licenses, and in-state college tuition.
Despite the lack of legal citizenship, these students are pursuing the American dream one step at a time.
Is it good for the people already living here? I don't care if they're not committing crimes. Are they using our schools, our roads, our hospitals?
Do you stand with violent, criminal, illegal aliens? Or do you stand with American citizens? Do you stand with our sons and daughters and those at risk of violent crime?
Number one, it's illegal immigrants too, and number two, there are no good ones.
They're sending people that have lots of problems, and they're bringing those problems with us. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists.
My name is Melissa Martinez. I'm 20 years old and I was born in Guatemala City, Guatemala. So I was born in 1995, the year that Guatemala Civil War ended. You know, we lived in the inner city, Zona 7, Amparo, and that's not the place in the city where you want to be at that time. And my dad had already been coming to the United States as a truck driver, and he was making good money. And he just decided that it's best if we just moved to the United States because it was a better opportunity. It was safer and it was more of a stable environment for his family. It was just me, my dad, and my two older sisters that moved here when I was 3. My older sister, Jennifer, Nellie, Nancy. They didn't have the resources I have now. I right now have DACA, which is, I have a work permit, social security number, and I can have a driver's license. And now I can qualify for in-state tuition.
DACA stands for Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. And DACA is a program that allows, again, certain youth who were brought here at a young age, in this case, prior to their 16th birthday, to obtain a temporary legal status. So it's not a path to a green card and U.S. citizenship. It's a temporary 2-year legal status, but it's a legal status that can be renewed over and over again.
So basically, when I was 3 years old, this is the apartment building we lived in. It was 5 families living there. We were the 5th. We had the master bedroom, so we all slept in the same room. That room, we stayed there for a year and a half, maybe 2. The smallest family was the husband and wife in their early 20s, and they slept in the living room on the floor. But it was very crowded. I remember my grandma, my dad's mom, would come visit sometime, and I was around 9, and my mom was telling my grandma that she wasn't feeling well. She had really bad headaches, and she doesn't know what to do. I think at that time we didn't have health insurance. I know we didn't have health insurance because it was just so expensive for us. We didn't have the right documentation to have that. She went to a hospital. They took a lot of tests and a lot of scans, and it turned out that she had a brain tumor. We had a hard time affording the hospital bills. I know that was a big deal because I never saw my dad. He was always working, like 2 jobs. He was always working just to pay for the hospital bills. We actually bought a hospital bed here in this room, and she would stay here, and the nurses and doctor would come visit her. I remember my dad talking to me outside and say that, Melissa, I don't think your mom's gonna make it. I'm like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? She's fine. God's gonna fix her. This is what God does. That's his job. And then I see my sister Nancy's bawling her eyes out, and I see my sister Nellie, and she's on top of my mom crying and crying. And then I see my dad cry. It's just, I've never seen my dad cry, and that's when I realized my mom had passed away. So we called my sister in Guatemala. We're like, Yenny, she didn't make it, she passed away.
Go through the proper process. Your parents broke the law. It's unfortunate you got to suffer for that. And when you break the law, you don't get a golden ticket to do what you want. Or you feel that you should be punished. You feel you should be punished if you kill somebody in an accident for a DUI? Should you be punished for that?
Of course.
Of course you should be punished. Well, they broke the law.
Like most people say, well, the problem with these illegals is that they didn't want to get in line. But that presupposes the notion that there is a line that you can get into. There literally is no process whatsoever by which that person can apply to legally come to the United States. So the law just simply forces people to break the law in coming to the United States. So of course there's some people who are just simply racist, right? We have to acknowledge that fact. But for most people who are anti-immigrant, I think they just have an incorrect understanding of what the law currently is, and that's why they're angry at people who've broken the law.
I got pulled over. I got pulled over when I was 18. I was on my way to my IB English exam, and I was speeding because I was running late, and I knew I wasn't supposed to be speeding. But at that point, I have already been granted DACA, but I haven't gotten my license yet because I literally just got the DACA approval a week ago. And I got pulled over, and I was so upset because not only was I going to be late for my IB exam, which I ended up getting college credit for, I got a ticket, and I got a ticket for speeding and for driving without a license. So I think if I would have been more freaked out if I didn't get the DACA approval. If I didn't get the DACA approval, I would have like really panicked and thought, oh my God, this is the last straw, I'm gonna get deported. But at that time, I was more educated, and I was like, I know that I was gonna be okay because I got the DACA status. My senior year was very difficult. When it came for me sitting down with my guidance counselor, it was very limited and very frustrating because I was undocumented.
Your dad was gone.
Yes, his mother had fallen ill, so he had gone back to Guatemala to take care of her until she passed away. Probably like the end of middle school towards almost all my high school years was that my mom and dad around. And I did neglect him a little bit when we got back, but our relationship is better, you know, we are growing, we're all we have.
Y como todos los padres queremos lo mejor para nuestros hijos. Es la razón que yo vine aquí. Claro que sí, digamos que es una ayuda para que ellos puedan superarse y terminar los estudios. Porque aquí es un país caro para vivir, no es fácil vivir también.
I'm not as privileged as my other friends who were born here. I don't get FAFSA, so I have to work full time in order to pay for school. At the end of the day, I know I'm going to get my degree, and I'm going to make my parents proud. You know, I'm the first generation college student, first one to go to college, first one who's going to graduate, and I plan on going to get my master's too. I have a lot of plans. It may not go as fast as I want, and I may have taken an alternate route, but I think that's just life. You know, you always have to go through obstacles to get to where you want. I've always wanted to help people since I was little. Doctors, especially now, they're drowned in paperwork. Yes, they do treatment plans. Yes, they see your patients. Yes, they have a lot of, you know, they're very well respected. But with nurses, you're more of your patient's advocate, and you're always there for your patients, so you know everything about your patients. Where doctors, you don't really get that quality time. So I want to work at a really well-known, respected hospital, and you know, VCU Medical Center or Johns Hopkins. If we're taking your job, then I feel sorry for you, because we had to come here and learn a different language. We had to come here and leave our family. We had to come here and leave our culture, leave everything. We come here and we build ourselves from the ground up again. And you've been here your whole life. If you can't network your way to get a job somewhere, and some of the jobs are just lifting boxes. If we're taking your jobs are not that great because we take all the jobs that nobody wants. We're here to work and help our family and grow. Because that's what the American dream really is, to grow. You know, back in Guatemala, we were just kind of stuck. We couldn't do anything. We were just, you know, and living paycheck by paycheck, hustling, trying to get money for the food. It's just, here you're able to stabilize yourself and grow and build yourself and become something better. That's the American dream.
And here are the producers of Not Our Country, But Our Home, Robertson School documentary students Jalen Bird, Jessica Biza, and Margaret Carmel. Jalen, I'm going to start with you, okay? What was the hardest part of making this particular documentary?
I think the hardest part with making this documentary was really finding a subject who was willing to talk to us about being undocumented and being a dreamer. It's really hard to find people who are so open and would welcome you into their home like Melissa did, our subject, and we're really lucky to have found somebody who could talk to us about this.
Okay, good. Jessica, let me ask you, how would you like this particular documentary to benefit society in learning more about Latino immigrants?
I think right now in society, like Latino immigrants are having such a negative perspective in general. So I feel like this documentary, you get to see Melissa and her dad just in a positive way. I mean, he's a hardworking man, and then he basically, I mean, you see in the documentary how he literally work for his family like day and night. And then obviously Melissa is a student and she works, she has a job, and like you just see the struggles they go through. You just get a different point of view. So hopefully people, not just like Latinos, will like get a different feel, but also like in general America, in Virginia. So yeah.
Yeah. Margaret, let me ask you, of course, you know, long form, which is what we call documentary, long form video is a lot different than the shorter form news story length stories that we see sometimes. What did you enjoy most about long form video?
I think in short form video, a lot of the nuances of stories get lost because you don't have time to provide the context. So in long form, you're not constricted by time, and you get to say, okay, what are all the details I need to tell the story so people can understand? Because in short form, you kind of shy away from complex topics.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Jalen Bird, Jessica Biza, and Margaret Carmel. Good job.
Thanks again, Dr. Oglesby, and all of the documentary students. That does it for this edition of VCU In Depth, and thank you for joining us. I'm Yura Lee.
And I'm Megan LaFon. For all of us at VCU In Depth, good night.